Welcome to the Foundation Training DVD. You've likely noticed by now that there are two discs included in this. The first one is very important. This is the basics. The basics of foundation training are the most important thing you're going to learn along this whole process, regardless of how long you stay with us. The second disc is filled with workouts. That's what you're going to use on your day-to-day. That's the stuff that's going to give you that intense, really powerful feel-good that you're looking for. But you can't get there until you've paid enough attention to disc one. If you're a person in pain, 1 full month on the first disc. If you're a person looking for performance, at least 10 days to 2 weeks on the first disc before moving on to the workouts. But do this at your own pace, more or less. This is about becoming sensitive to your body, strengthening your body, and every one of you is going to have different needs than the other. Pay a lot of attention, respect that there is a learning curve with this, and the first thing you're going to do is learn the basic founder tutorial on the first disc. Practice that a couple times, move into sequence 1, sequence 2, and so on. I really appreciate the trust in foundation training. If you're somebody looking to learn a lot more about this, we offer a very cool certification program. But if you just want to get the basics, if you just want to get out of pain, this DVD is going to do a lot for you. Enjoy the whole process, and thank you so much. I'm here with Chad to teach you 3 different ways to do our most important exercise, the founder. This is the basis of everything you're learning with us, is basic posterior chain recruitment, and this is the fastest way we have found to get there. To start, I want you to have a shoulder width stance with your feet facing straight forward. You're going to stand as tall as you can, pressing your heels into the ground as you stand your chest really big up. From that position, you're going to unlock your hips, hinging your hips back behind you, pulling them behind your heels, making sure the abdomen stays long. As soon as you feel that little bit of lower back tension, right at the base of the spine right here, we're going to slowly open up the chest, unscrewing the shoulders, turning the thumbs out away from you. If you open your hand really firmly, it's going to help that process a bit more. From here, you're going to counterbalance your hands forward just to about hip level. As you do that, your hips are going to be able to pull back about 2 more inches from that counterbalance. Hold this position for 1 very big breath, again, elevating the torso as you breathe in. Your weight is driven through your heels, your chest is high, and your lower back should already be fatigued if you're doing this correctly. From this position, nothing else in the body changes except the arms. The arms are going to go straight up, increasing tension right at the base of the spine. I want to make sure that you are avoiding hyperextension in this position. That looks like this. If you really pull your chest back, that's actually collapsing your lower back. We don't want to do that. You're lifting up away from your hips constantly, reaching, hands away from the hip joint as far as they'll go, not pulling backwards. You should hold this for about 10 or 15 seconds in a very strong isometric pose. Press the weight into the heels, bring the arms down, and then just go ahead and stand up. The next one I want to teach you is a wider stance in that exact same exercise in the founder. So a wide leg founder just gives you a sturdier base to work from. Everything else is the same. Feet are facing forward. Your weight is driven back on the heels, and the first aspect of the exercise is elevation. Decompress your spine by lifting the torso away from the hips. As soon as you feel properly decompressed, you're going to hinge the hips back just a little bit, taking your hips straight back behind the heels with a little bit of an unlock in the knees. One of the really important aspects of this is that the knees do not come forward. Go ahead, Chad, and show them what that looks like when you go too far forward. This is not a founder. Very different exercise. The knees must be either over the heels or behind the heels to load the posterior chain properly. From this position, let's open up the chest. Again, turn the thumbs away from the hips to further elongate the pec muscles and the shoulder muscles. Hold this for about 5 or 10 seconds, maybe 1 or 2 big deep breaths. Feel very tall, very strong here. Let the lower back burn just a little bit, and then begin the counterbalance process by bringing the arms first to about hip level, maybe chest level, anywhere around there is fine. As you do that, you can pull the hips back just a little bit more, loading the posterior chain, making sure those muscles are absorbing tension and that your spine is not absorbing tension. From here, the hips, heels, shoulders all stay very strong as the arms simply lift straight up. You'll notice that Chad's head, as his arms came up, did not jut forward. You're actively pulling the head back, pulling the chin back as you lift the arms. About 5 more seconds in this position. Really solid lower back burn. Slowly bring the arms back behind you. Again, unscrew the shoulders, open up the chest, and then just press through the heels and stand up. The last exercise I want to show you is called an internally rotated founder. It's very good for the IT bands, and it's very good for sciatic pain. From here, go a little bit narrower, maybe about a hip width stance. And the most important aspect of this exercise is the feet turn inward towards each other and you're pressing your heels and outer foot into the ground very firmly. From this position, everything else is the same. Big decompression breath up so the rib cage lifts away from the hips. It doesn't hyperextend, it simply lifts as high as it can go. As soon as you feel properly decompressed, pull the hips back. You should almost immediately get a little bit of tension on the outside of the legs. From this position, as soon as you feel that lower back engaged, as soon as you feel that IT band slightly engaged, bring the arms back behind you, and the process continues. Open up the chest, unscrew the shoulders, keep everything really big in the decompression breaths, perfect. Begin that counterbalancing process and really pay attention now. As the arms come forward, the hips have the ability to pull back. You're not bending the knees further, you're pulling the hips behind you. From this position, the body stays firm. You should be almost shaky in this spot, and only the arms lift, lift, lift as high as they can go. What you're going to notice is that your feet are trying to roll up off of the insides. Try to press the inside of your feet into the ground, and you'll notice that stretches the legs just a little bit harder. Give me 5 more seconds in this position. Take a very big deep breath, and as you exhale, try to pull your stomach off of your waistband. That's a great little addition to this to add quite a bit more tension and quite a bit more muscle chains to this exact same exercise. Practice this one every day. You can't do the founder enough. This is going to pull you out of all those internally rotated patterns we practice every day, and it very well could improve so many aspects of your life. Hope you enjoy practicing this. Let's practice the wide, narrow, and internal rotation founders. We're going to start with a really wide founder, at least 3 feet apart with the legs. The chair in the position here is just a very supported way of doing a founder. If you're in a little bit of pain, if you're not quite as flexible as you'd like to be, this is a very important tool. The beginning of it is the exact same. Your weight is back on your heels, your chest is high. You're taking a really big breath up into the upper torso as you pull your hips back to load the posterior chain. Lower back tension, glute tension, hamstring tension. Weight on the heels. Take a big breath in and open up the rib cage by turning the hands out away from your hips. Spread the fingers. As your hips continue to pull back, you're going to counterbalance by bringing the arms up. Now, if you're using the chair, your hands only go to the top of the chair and with barely any weight on them. All of your weight is pulling you back behind your heels. From this position, take a nice, really big breath, opening up the rib cage as big as possible, keeping your chin back, and again, keeping the weight behind your heels. Make sure your knees are not bent all that far. From this position, you're going to bring the arms right back behind you. Now notice on the chair, there's no movement at the torso. You stay very rigid as the arms come back, very supported. Lift your chest up, bring the chest back over the hips, press through the heels, and stand right back up. Let's go right into a narrow founder with the feet almost touching, and even touching if they can. Again, feet are in the same line, facing straight forward. Your chest is high. Very big deep breath up into the upper torso. Turn the hands out, pull the hips back. Perfect. Big wide chest. Start opening up the chest, elaborating a little bit more on that unscrewing of the shoulders. As the hips pull back a little bit further, make sure your knees are slightly unlocked. The weight is back in the heels, the chest is high. Now very slowly begin counterbalancing those arms forward using the chair or just lifting the arms as high as you can. In this narrow founder here, you can really emphasize the posterior chain, pulling the hands up, up, up away from your hips as far as possible. With the supported chair, you're constantly trying to pull your hips and hands away from each other, making sure that the hips are way behind the heels while you're doing this stretch. Take a very big deep breath, open up the torso as big as you can, press the heels into the ground, bring the arms back behind you, open up the chest, bring the chest back over your hips, stand right back up. Now we're going to go into an internally rotated founder. We're going to have our feet first straight forward and then pigeon-toed just a little bit. As you pigeon-toe your feet just slightly, you're going to close the hips inward into internal rotation, and you're going to pull your hips back just like an ordinary founder. When you notice that your feet are trying to roll up off the ground, press your big toes down into the ground. Everything else is the same. Pull the hips back, counterbalance the arms forward. If you're using the chair, use the chair, pull your hips away from it. If you're standing firm, lift the arms, pull your hips back as far as you can, and make sure the feet stay firmly on the ground while you're doing this. Give me a very big deep breath into the upper torso here. As you exhale, bring the arms back behind you, open up the chest, Press the heels into the ground, pull the chest back over the hips, and stand up. Let's do the exact same thing one more round. Starting with the wide founder, try to push it just a little bit further on this one. So get the legs wide, feet facing straight forward, big chest. Start expanding the chest with a big breath as you pull your hips straight back behind your heels. The butt is pulling back behind the heels the whole time here. As soon as you feel that lower back tension, I want you to reach the arms forward. If you're using the chair, try to pull the hips just a little bit further back away from the chair. Don't try to reach the arms further forward. Pull the hips further back away. If you're standing strong, again, hips pulling this way, hands pulling this way. You're making your torso as long as possible while you breathe as big as you can into the rib cage. Bring the arms back behind you. Thumbs turn out away from the hips. Chin back, chest up, avoid hyperextending. Bring the chest back over the hips and go ahead and stand up. Let's go right back into that narrow founder with the feet together. Chest up, shoulders wide, feet pressing down into the ground with the weight back on the heels. Try not to hyperextend the neck, try not to look down, just very firm, strong posture here. Open up the shoulders, turn the hands away. As the hips pull back, the arms are going to go straight forward, counterbalancing. If you're able to, I want you to reach as high as you can. Start pushing just a little bit harder every time you're doing these exercises, trying to access more muscles. If you're pulling back away from the chair, there should be almost no weight on your hands. You should almost at this point be able to hover your hands over the back of the chair with a very supported spine. Bring the arms back down by your side, turn the thumbs out, chin back, chest up. Bring the chest back over the hips, stand up, and let's go one more internally rotated founder. Again, the toes are pigeon-toed in. I don't want the knees caving in like this, though. You've got to stand very strong here with just a subtle internal rotation at the feet. As you pull your hips back, you should be able to feel a bit more of an IT band stretch on the outside of your legs. If you're not there yet, you're okay. You'll get there. Pull the hips back just a little bit further. Begin that counterbalancing process, bringing the arms forward as the hips pull back. From this position, you're going to go a little deeper, a little deeper. Try to really find that hamstring and IT band stretch. Give it a very big, deep breath into your torso as much as you can. Elevate the torso as you breathe in. Keep the weight back on your heels. Press your feet into the ground really hard. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, bring the arms back behind you. Very strong, stable spine. Bring the chest back over your hips. Press the heels into the ground. Stand up. Very nice work. It's time to practice the anchored bridge, supine decompression, and the crossover stretch. They're very simple, just takes a little bit of practice. For the anchored bridge, you're going to start on your back. Knees are going to be squeezing together. The legs are either going to be straight out ahead of you or slightly bent, like Gail's over here. Both of them are fine. You're going to bend the knees just a little bit more than Bruno has here, and you're going to dorsiflex the ankles. From this position, you're going to press your palms into the ground to expand your chest while you press your hips straight up in the air. As soon as your hips come up off of the ground, I want you to pull the heels towards your butt, just with a little bit of traction. Give me 3 big deep breaths in this position while you hold. You should feel a lot of tension along the entire back of your body. Make sure you're squeezing your knees together constantly. That's the anchored part of the anchored bridge. Just as slowly as you came up, lower your hips right back down. And let's go right into a supine decompression. To get into this exercise, your feet are straight. The legs are straightened. They're still squeezing together, and your toes are pulled back towards you in dorsiflexion. Your hands are going to reach right up over your chest with the fingertips touching. From here, keeping a very strong squeeze at the knees, you're going to reach the arms all the way back behind you until they almost touch the ground. Once you're back there, your goal is to do 3 simple things. 3 times. Breathe directly into your rib cage as big as possible while squeezing the legs together and pushing the feet and hands away from each other as far as they can go. After those 3 breaths, you're going to bring those arms right back over your chest. Bring the arms all the way down to your side, and let's go right into a crossover stretch. You're going to bend both knees, keeping the feet together, keeping the knees together. When the knees bend, you're going to take your right leg and cross it over your left, keeping your knees very close together. From here, using your right leg as a lever, you're going to pull down to the right side of your body. When you pull down to the right side, you'll get a little stretch right at that left hip. Take your left arm, reach it all the way up in the air, and then all the way back behind you. This should be a gentle stretch on the left side of the body, very little more than that. Take 1 or 2 nice big deep breaths in this position. After you've exhaled, bring that left arm right back down, and let's switch legs into the other side here. So untangle your legs, cross the left leg over the right this time, and again, using the top leg as the lever, you're going to pull down. Feeling that stretch go right into the right hip, you're going to take that right arm, bring it all the way back behind you. Sometimes in this position, it's a little bit easier just to trace that thumb all the way back as you bring the right arm back. Both of them are fine. After 1 or 2 deep breaths in this position, you're going to go ahead and bring the arm back, untangle your hips, bring the feet straight out in front of you, and let's go right back into the anchored bridge. Feet together, knees squeezing, with a few inches of knee bend, very little knee bend. It's not a typical bridge. From this position, the palms are pressing into the ground and the chest is expanding as big as possible before the hips come up. Pressing the palms into the ground, press the heels into the ground, lift the hips up as high as you can comfortably. No pinching, no pain. Squeeze the knees. Take a big deep breath, and we'll add 1 layer in this one, which is just bringing the arms up off the ground without your hips changing position. From here, give me 1 very forceful deep breath with the entire back of your body engaged. Squeeze the knees, press the heels tight into the ground. Slowly bring those arms back down by your hips. As soon as the arms touch the ground, bring the hips down. As soon as the hips touch the ground, straighten the legs. Let's go right into another supine decompression. Squeeze the knees. Go ahead and dorsiflex the ankles, pulling them towards the shin. Keep everything squeezing together tight as you lift the arms straight up over your chest. Press the fingertips together. Bring the arms straight back behind you, not letting the shoulders relax. You're squeezing pretty hard at the hands as you pull back. Squeeze the knees a little bit tighter than you did last time. Really tight. You should be shaking a little bit from the knee squeeze. Let's go 3 more very forceful deep breaths. This time, think of widening the rib cage as you breathe in. Keep on lengthening as much as possible. The hips are really tight. The feet are pushing away from the hands are pulling away from the feet, and you're just staying as long as you can for 1 more breath. Bring the arms slowly back up over your chest. You can relax the arms down, bend both knees, and we're going to go right back into a crossover for the last one. So let's go right leg over the left first. Knees very close together. This time on the bottom foot, I want you to internally rotate that foot just a little bit, just a little internal rotation on the bottom foot. Using that right leg as a lever, pull down to the right side. Feel that stretch go into the left hip, maybe a little bit above the hip, a little bit below the hip. Both of those are fine. Take the left arm, reach it all the way up in the air, and then all the way back behind you, lengthening the left side of the torso as much as you're able to during this stretch. Just give me a couple big deep breaths in this position and really lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. This is one of the least active stretches we have, but it's just as important as the others, and it really facilitates all of the other stretches that we do. From this position, bring that left arm back, untangle the hips. Let's go right into the right side. So the left foot is going to cross over the right, knees close together. Left leg pulls down to the left side of the body, stretching the right hip. As soon as you feel that stretch go into the right hip, take that right arm, reach it straight up in the air. As you're reaching, picture the torso, the rib cage, and the pelvis on that right side expanding a little bit. Get into that stretch just a little bit more for a couple of breaths. Go just a little tighter into it. After the next breath, go ahead and bring your feet back to the center, untangle your legs. Go ahead and relax. Nice work. We're going to practice the founder, lunge, and wide leg founder. To get into the founder, I want your feet straight ahead, facing straight ahead, your weight back in the heels, and your hips unlocked, pushing back behind you just a little bit. Make sure your lower back is tight and your chest is very tall. Your chin is going to be pulling back just a little bit. Please avoid looking up or looking down. You're straight ahead. Your weight is back on the heels, the lower back muscles are tight, and all you're doing is taking 1 or 2 nice, big, deep breaths right into the upper rib cage. I want you to spread the fingers and the hands, and then turn the thumbs out away from the body to open the chest. In this position, you're going to go 1 big breath into the upper rib cage, push all that weight back behind you in the heels. As you exhale, press your heels into the ground, stand right back up. From here, we're going to go right into a lunge. Right leg forward, left leg back. Again,